Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.
Third Degree, the podcast, is brought to you by our wonderful supporters just like you, those that choose to help us out at patreon.com/third degree. If you're curious about FC Dallas, Dallas Trinity, Atletico Dallas, Rodeo SC, all the teams that are coming to Dallas playing professional soccer, we got you covered. Why not throw us some support? It is greatly appreciated. Now on with the podcast.
Well, hello there, DFW soccer curious. Welcome to Third Degree, the podcast. On the panel today, your favorite English man, Dan Crooke. Howdy, Dan.
Hello, I am both of those things. All three, really.
Yes. Favorite English and man?
Yes. In that order.
Fair shout. Welcome back. Did the GoFundMe work out on getting your computer resurrected from last week?
Oh,
we tried to get.
No idea what's going on.
Remember, your computer blew up, and you couldn't do the pod.
There was smoke. There were flames. There were LEDs. It was a very strange time.
Well, I don't know if the GoFundMe that Buzz and I tried to get started for you happened or not, but at least you're back.
This is news to me. Someone may be laundering money somewhere.
Speaking of laundering money, your hero, my hero, everybody's hero, editor, founder of thirddegree.net, and the original soccer influencer himself, and the man you pay Patreon money to, Buzz Carrick. Come in, Buzz.
I was wondering what the laundering money had to do with anything.
Oh, we know, sir. Since you mysteriously absconded to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. Well, it's no mystery about it. Just absconded. By the way, I was looking, just flipped over to the DC United webpage just to see what was going on with them, and I'm jealous of their ticket promo that they have splashed all across their page, big and huge. $25 for a ticket against FC Dallas and a beer.
Yeah, but is it $9.11?
It's not $9.11, but $25 for a ticket and a beer sounds pretty good to me. It's a Heineken on the advertisement, but I suppose you probably get whatever. It does not match a good 9/11 promo, that's for sure.
I love it when certain people when the club takes shots right off the bat, just strays, just
yeah. I know.
Goodness, poor thing. This is supposed to be a fan support. We're supposed to be a pro team podcast for FC Dallas, but Dan throwing darts right off the bat. Good for you, buddy.
It's a call like it is podcast. It's not necessarily
it is. Yes. Well, when you do a 9/11 ticket promo, and you're gonna hear from it, that's gonna live into infamy for sure. 100%. Yes. All right. So we got lots to talk about today. Obviously, we're making rounds across what's happening in the soccer scene in North Texas. The Dallas Cup has kicked off. The big event at the Cotton Bowl was last night. And I think the really impressive news is they announced that they set a Dallas Cup record for attendance for opening night at the Cotton Bowl. By the time the Botafogo Aston Villa game, which was the premier game of the evening, happened, there were 26,000 people at the Cotton Bowl for the Dallas Cup. And that is a record for the tournament in 47 years. And that is impressive.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, that opening day is always tons of fun. There's always multiple good games. The Parade of Nations with all the teams coming through is obviously a blast. The FC Dallas game against Fulham early before the parades was a really solid game, 2-2 tie. It's just the pageantry of the Dallas Cup is fantastic. The big opening day at the Cotton Bowl is always a lot of fun. I'm sorry I missed it, but it was always one of my funnest days of the year to go to that thing.
So on the radio show Saturday, Andy and I were talking about this. Obviously, Andy Swift, my co-host, used to be the executive director. I found it out on the weekend. Now he's a VP on the board. How haughty does that sound? Anyway, I asked Andy, it's easy to go to the Supergroup games or the U19 games because those are the big flashy ones. But really the best part of Dallas Cup is finding the stuff down the line. It isn't the most obvious. And his recommendation on the show Saturday was to go check out one of 2 or 3 younger group age teams from Brazil from an academy called the Laux Performance. So it's LAUX Performance. And I think they've got a team in U12, 13, and 14. And he said if you wanted to go check something out that was kind of different and really good, because there's scouts in town checking out those kids specifically. That was his pick to click, as they would say. So there you go. Dallas Cup in full effect for the next 10 days, which means we're going to get rain and some storms.
Yeah, that's what it always happens.
Exactly.
Or it's 110.
Or 100.
Yeah, like one of my favorite things to do, other than, of course, watching for FC Dallas Academy games at the Dallas Cup, is to pick out a team from a country that you never really seen much from. Whether it be something like a German club, which is, while we see the Bundesliga here, we don't see it near as much as we do the Premier League, but you could go check out a team from an African country. You could go check out a team from South America. You could check out a team from Asia, or just walk the complex and look for the games where the crowds are starting to pile up and people are screaming and cheering because it's going crazy. There's some intense games that happen out there. This is probably something that the cup would probably consider a negative, but almost every year there's some kind of brawl in some game that'll happen with coaches or players, or nobody wants that stuff, Kendrick. But it's just the level of some of those games, particularly as you get into the tournament. And now we're talking about knockout and feelings get hot. Some of these clubs will come in rivals with each other to begin with. You can just look for games with crowds around them, and that can tell you like that's a great game or a great matchup or something's going on that can be spicy, and it's a lot of fun.
My favorite spicy moment last year was doing a story for MPSL on referees. So just kind of hanging out with them, watching one of the games that's been reffed by the crews that I'm kind of covering. And there is an under-17s game field over. It's Northern Ireland Schools Select against either the Everton Football Academy or the Stephen Gerrard Academy. One of the two Liverpool teams that are there, or one of two of the 18,000 Liverpool teams that seem to go to Dallas Cup. And it absolutely kicks off about 3 or 4 times. I think there's like 4 red cards. These two teams that are separated by a very small bit of water flew 4,000 miles to have a fight with each other.
Yeah. Typical.
That's fantastic.
Could have saved on the airfare and just took the ferry across from Liverpool. And,
Yeah.
That's great. They started the referee homestay program back up again this year.
I saw that.
Yeah. So a lot of fun. And I got to retell the story of Howard Webb's spin around Dallas Cup, and when he showed up and he actually reffed a game and the kids freaked out. And I hope to this day, however many years later down the road it is, that kid has that picture of Howard Webb showing him a yellow card is over his mantle or whatever it is, because that was a great moment. Okay, Dallas Cup. By the way, just for those who know, just because the games at the Cotton Bowl require tickets, or the games that are inside Toyota Stadium require a paid ticket, all of the games at the auxiliary fields up in Frisco, at what used to be called MoneyGram but now is called Dallas Soccer Park, and at Richland College are all free to attend. So don't feel like the barrier to entry is you have to pay to do something, because it's good stuff.
Just a quick FC Dallas U19 Supergroup update. I mentioned that they tied 2-2 against Fulham. I think I mentioned that in the first game. Sam Sadeh and Marlon Lucene scored for FC Dallas. They played again today, and they tied 0-0. And the story is that apparently there was a red card for Dallas about 10 minutes into the game. And there's a young kid named Aiden Jordan, who's a keeper for the U18s. He played for North Texas the other day and had a really nice game. Apparently he stood on his head, made a whole bunch of saves, and the other team hit the crossbar like 5 times or something. So that
Who'd
kid
they play?
Really, dang it. That's one part of the story I don't know.
That's a weird team name.
Dang it, FC.
Yeah,
That sounds like a beer league team.
I don't
And
remember
if
who's
it's not,
in
it
the
should
right
be.
Second, I should have asked that to the person who told me the result. But the point was, from an FC Dallas perspective, Aiden Jordan is a nice young keeper coming through. He's already played for North Texas. He's 17, 18 years old, whatever he is. So it's a guy that's on the pathway to keep an eye out. Had a really good game today and sort of rescued his team after they were down a man most of the whole game, and they held on 0-0. So, Dan, did you look up the group?
They played Esport Club Agua Santa.
Yeah,
from Brazil.
Not a team I know, but there you go.
All right. I got a question, and I'm glad you brought this up. I was going to bring it up later in the episode, but since we're talking Dallas Cup and FC Dallas in the group's super group, I saw the highlights of the game against Fulham. And you mentioned Luxane's son, who is on that team, who
Yep.
took the PK.
Mm-hmm.
What is each of yours opinion about teenagers executing or attempting panenkas in supergroup games in the Cotton Bowl against English opposition in probably one of the biggest games you've ever
against
played?
us always do it. We're shit.
Seriously, like, I know he made it and all of that, but I would be pissed if I was the coach.
Well, that will depend some on how much freedom the coach gives them in PKs. Like if he's laid down, like, don't ever do that. Like, I want you to go for this or that.
Well, yeah, obviously.
But at the same time, like, Marlon Luxon is Peter's older son. He's been a North Texas player for a year plus now. And he, and along with a couple other North Texas players that went down, they're clearly way fitter than Academy players because they all started and went 90 minutes, the ones that are the North Texas players. So he probably looked to Marlon, I would imagine, Matias Asori, who's the coach of the U18s, technically. He probably told them, hey, you're going to be like, while not captain, you're going to be like the leader on the field. People are going to look to you because they know you play for North Texas. So he probably gave them a lot of freedom. And Luxon probably had for what I think of him as a player, he had a pretty nice game. He had the PK goal, but he was pretty decent in midfield. He doesn't do a lot of defensive work, but that's fine. He's a sort of playmaker type player, but I think it's probably okay. He's a kind of player who is kind of wants to be sort of stylish
showy.
And wants to sort of be showy. Yeah, that's a good word. So that kind of PK fits in his paradigm. So I think you're going to get that kind of thing with him as a player. Just in general terms, so.
I guess trying to do a panenka is fine until you F it up. And then you look like a giant idiot.
Yeah.
That's it, right? I mean, the only thing that matters on a penalty is, are you confident you're putting it away? Because if you're like, I'll try this, I don't think it will come off, don't bother. Just try tucking it in the corner. Try going for power. Do whatever. You can miss one way or the other. If you're confident in it, go for it.
Yeah, the footage I saw was a bit wonky and from a weird angle, and it looked like he didn't take it very well, and it almost like confused the goalkeeper because of but maybe it was just the angle I saw the highlight from, but I guess he made it. I shouldn't fuss about it. It just seems like an odd thing for a teenager to be doing in a big game like that, but I wonder what Peter thought about it.
He probably loved it. The biggest takeaway from that game is Sam Sadeh, was the
is
best
that the hot shot
that
you? Yeah, is that the big upper comer? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's not Benji Flowers, but he definitely is good enough that they signed him at 15 to a homegrown deal. He'll be a homegrown next year. So like he's on the second year of his hybrid thing. He's just now 16 playing in the U19 bracket. He's the best player in the game, and I'm including Fulham players on this. He was phenomenal. So it's like that's a really exciting moment. He plays for North Texas as well.
Okay, very good. Everybody go out, make at least one Dallas Cup game somewhere near you. All right, let's move on to other things. Obviously, speaking of FC Dallas, they were off this past weekend, and they have to go to D.C. this weekend, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I do want to get into and follow up on the Santiago Moreno situation. Did that get done and announced after we recorded last week?
Yes.
Or was that okay? So this is now official. That deal is done. Do you want to talk about the details of the deal?
No, because we kind of knew the details when we were talking about it last week. It's I thought what would be worth a little bit of discussion was maybe like a little bit deeper of a look into how he might try and fit into the tactics of the team, since he is probably coming relatively quickly. The team has confirmed, or at least they put out in their press release, so I'll take that as a confirm, they still has this green card. So that's really good. We weren't 100% sure whether that would be the case or not, because since he left the country for a little bit, now he's back and apparently still has it. So that's a real positive that we know that for sure. We know for sure that he's a DP now. That's one of the details we found out, which is fine because they already had one open DP spot anyway. And if they work the money correctly in terms of how they do the loan, if they end up buying him, they may have to keep him as a DP next year too. But, maybe the salaries can be done, so it won't be forever that he'll be a DP. But it does tell you the level that they think he is, that they're willing to spend this kind of money to get him. So tactically, how he'd work into the team, like you could just use him like they use some of the other wings, like we've seen with Bernie, of course. Sometimes we see with Sarver where they try to use him as a wing back. that seems ridiculous. If you're bringing in a DP to do that, to use a wingback, that seems dumb. So if you want to talk about how they're playing just in the context of this season, one option is to play him as one of the two strikers. With a player like Musa, play him sort of as the off guy where Logan is now. You could play him in that spot. To have three guys that can play striker is not a worst problem in the world. And the other idea is the thing that they've used the last two games, which is this 3-4-3. That Quill seems super excited about, this idea that the high sort of high press six that we called Kayik in that scenario. But you can, if Moreno has the qualities to be able to play that high spot and press like that, you could look at Moreno and Joaquin Valiente as your two underneath guys, and then either Farrington or Moose up top. So those are sort of the two most obvious versions of how you could get Moreno on the field. So you're talking about a guy that's a DP, he's going to be playing, right? I mean, Quill would probably try and ignore that, but sometimes, man, you can't when you got that kind of money in a player. He's going to play.
Is he here and available for this weekend?
Well, I doubt he would be available this weekend because once they do all the paperwork and announcement, his certificate would need to clear his ITC thing. I don't know, Dan, do you know, does he need a new visa if he has the green card, or can he just come back?
No, he can just come back. He basically, if he's away for a year, he forfeits it, then he has to go through the whole thing. Otherwise, he's got his authorization to work. He's got everything he needs.
And he hasn't been gone a year, has he?
No, he was only gone like 6 months or something.
So theoretically, Peter, yeah, he could, if his ITC certificate clears through FIFA, then, which usually only takes a day or two, then yeah, he would be available. Then it would be down to the coach. Have I had him in training enough? How's he fitting into the team? So like, if I was just going to completely guess, it would be if he gets the whole certificate and he's cleared to play medically, if he passes physical, which he would have had to do the deal, then you would just put him on the bench and let him get a taste of everything. Let him travel with the team. Let him be on the bench. He's a good enough player that you could bring him in for like 10 minutes or something at the end, and no one would be upset about it. So that's my assumption, is that if his certificate clears, that he'll travel. It's pure guesswork because we don't know, but we'll see.
Okay. Hey, I just dawned on me, I haven't been paying attention. Did Musa play for Croatia the other day?
Yeah, he played 45 minutes.
How'd he do?
Supposedly hit the bar a couple of times. That's really good.
Okay. I don't know if that's good or not.
Well, if he were to come off the bench, I suppose that it depends on whether that game.
No, I can't tell if I want him to perform well, because then he'll get sold, or if I want to be, selfish and wish bad things.
Yeah, is it even locked he's going to make the team? I suppose it might depend on whether that was a last chance game or that was I'm warming up my squad game. So it's hard. I don't know.
See what he does against Brazil tomorrow.
Yeah.
Where is that game?
That is being played in Orlando, I believe.
Okay, yeah, wow. That would make sense. Yeah,
that's fun.
Good stuff. Okay, so no other player conversations, but let's go ahead and talk about the fact that they do have a game coming up on Saturday at up in DC.
Yeah, they have a solid-ish squad. They're getting better. Sean Johnson in goal. Our old friend Lucas Bartlett is one of their defenders. I don't know a ton about how they play. I see Caden Clark came off the bench.
Lucas Bartlett, is that the old dude they drafted?
They drafted, he was 26, and he's now
captain.
Yeah,
and now he's 37. No, because he left here and went to what? St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah, but now he's with DC.
Okay,
he's hanging around the league. What it says to me about this is not a shot at Lucas Bartlett, but if you're going to have Lucas Bartlett be in your back line, you're probably not building out of the back. You're probably thumping it. He's a good physical defender, particularly like one-on-one banging on a guy. So like you can watch him try and smash Musa or Farrington or whoever's going to be up front, but you're not going to expect him to go ticky-tacky coming out of the back with Lucas Bartlett. So maybe that'll tell you a little bit of how they play that way. They got Caden Clark, who's a pretty solid player in MLS over the years. So
Brandon Servania.
Yeah. Our old from Brandon Servania has been starting.
Okay.
For them as well. So they got a FC Dallas flavor through the middle of their team a little bit. I don't think Brandon's like a star for them, but I think he plays more often than not.
He's a
pretty consistent starter. Yeah. So I'm sure there'll be a couple of hugs here and there, although there's not a lot of people left from when Brandon Servania was here. Paxton would have been the last one for sure. So I don't know who's the longest serving, not Siki, but he's gone. Jesus is gone, Paul's gone, so there's not really maybe anybody left that really knows him other than coaches possibly.
It's crazy how much time has flown by, and we're at that point.
Drew Keyshawn will know him.
Yeah, we're at this weird point where we've all been following this for so long that the league is now littered with former, like not just guys that played for the team, but guys that came up through the academy. Like I was watching Edwin Cerrillo playing for the Galaxy the other day, and I'm like, gosh, he is really good. I wish he was on my team.
Yeah, Kappas would probably know him, and so would Colodi would probably know him.
Yeah,
from their academy days.
Yeah,
just glancing down the roster, trying to think of who else was here. That really is it, man. Nolan's too young. Siki would be it. I think. Yeah, and Siki ain't here anymore, so yeah. Those would be the two guys that might know him, and they're guys that have come back after
Eric know
5,
him?
6 years away. Quill would. Yeah, Quill would know him.
Yeah, he played the first season for North Texas SC a little bit.
Okay. All right.
So some familiarity there. But anyway, a little bit of knowledge of DC probably and how they play probably from in terms of the coaching staff and knowing a player or two. That's always a little bit of a help. And it's not like it's a secret. Everyone's got lots of game on tape at this point. So for Dallas, I think you have to wonder, you have this Musa Farrington problem in terms of the 11, because I call it a problem because I'm going to assume that like Santiago Moreno is not heavy in your plans, having just maybe been in town for a couple of days. So let's just talk about Musa and Farrington. Those are two of your best players, your hottest players. You'd like to get them on the field at the same time, which lends itself to the 5-3-2 that they started the season with. But they've now gone 2 straight games with this 3-4-3, and Quill seems to really like it. This thing with Kayik high and along with Joaquin Valiente high, and only one of Musa or Farrington starting. So that becomes the biggest question. Which of those two tactics are you going to see? Are you going to, maybe with Musa going out and playing a couple games, maybe he might have traveled a little bit. Maybe he might be just a little bit tired perhaps. So maybe he might go to Farrington, some good questions there about the potential in terms of the tactics, because outside of that, I don't think there's a lot of choices. Like, Colodi's starting, Bernie's starting, it's going to be Iragide and Shaq Moore. There's the Nolan question with Ibiaga. That's the one question really, because then it's Ramiro, Kappas, Kayik, Valiente, and either Musa or Farrington. So, and whether you want to go back to the 2 striker guys and play both Musa and Farrington and sit Kayik is the real question, the real tactical choice decision to be made.
I was doing a little bit of prep and research, and I was digging through some stats. I want to play a game with you guys. Now, this game is predicated on the idea first that neither one of you has spent any time looking at like FOTMob or anything like that recently. Not today.
Yeah.
Are you up to date on team stats?
No.
Let's play it anyway. All right.
Yep.
I was this one surprised me. How many people on FC Dallas have scored a goal this season?
2.
2. Yeah, I think I know.
Correct. Yeah. Just Moose and Farrington, nobody else.
And own goal.
Oh, fair. Always the threat of the own goal.
Yeah.
What is the leader in the clubhouse on assists? Don't cheat, Buzz.
Well, my guess is it's Johansson.
How many do you think he has?
Well, I know that he's tied with Kappas on is it key passes? I think it is. He's tied with so I would say that probably the leader in assists maybe has 2.
Ramiro 2?
No, there are 6 people tied with 1. Kamungo. And Kamungo leads on expected assist. Actually, him and Valiente both are on 0.7. So
there's 2 that have 2 hockey assists. If you go through like the way MLS does it.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I was reading off of FOTMob. So, which takes me to an interesting one. Now, again, anytime you do any of these websites, you know, like transfer market and player values, it's your mileage may vary. FOTMob rating is another one where your mileage may vary. Obviously, the leader in the clubhouse for the team is Petar Musa with a 7.98. Who do you think is the second highest rated player over the course of the season on average for Dallas?
Well, since you're excited about it, it's probably something bonkers like Bernie.
It is.
Yeah.
Bernard Kamungo at 7.52, and Logan is behind them at 7.35.
Well, those things are swung by goals and assists pretty heavily, and Bernie has on paper 2 assists if you're using the MLS, the hockey assist, and Valiente has 2 and Farrington has 2. So, like you get into some of the stat metrics, you get into the goals added, and you get into the XGs, and Bernie looks really good. It's the eye test with his defensive issues that make us question, what's going on over there. But we've talked a lot about the fact that he's doing enough good stuff offensively that he's going to keep his spot. So it's not surprising. It is a bit surprising that he's number 2 in FOTMAP rating, but it's not surprising that he's up in the top part of it.
Okay, the next stat, let's see. What was the one that caught me off guard? Most everything in here is obviously Musa and Beaver. Moose and Beaver. They're always 1 and 2. Who do you think's number 1 in chances created, though? And I will tell you, it's not Petter Musa.
Well, no, he wouldn't create chances, not by himself. I mean, he would.
Yeah,
he might some. Well, it's either Farrington because he's up high, or like I said, Kappas and Johansson are in high and key passes. So probably Johansson again from the wing.
Good, Buzz Carrick. Yes, it is the Swede with 9. Kappas is on 7. But to combat your point, Petter Musa is tied for second with 7. So there you go.
Yeah.
Who do you think has the best expected assist per 90 on the team?
Well, you said before you thought that Bernie had the highest X assists.
He had that was actual assists, and then they yeah. This is expected
number. It was somebody that subbed in once.
It's Valiente.
Is it?
With 0.24. Kappas is second on 0.16.
I was going to say Kappas, but Valiente is not surprising. He really has come on the last couple of games, particularly the last one. I thought is putting himself in really good positions because he's playing higher than Kappas and Romero. Kaik would be the one, like, if he continues to play that high spot, will Kaik come up in that situation? Because you really need somebody in that spot. If you're going to play that high spot, you need to be able to get us some assists, get some key passes, not just press.
And last but not least, let's go with successful dribbles per 90. Who do you think number 1 is in that spot?
I'll guess Bernie again because he runs at people a lot.
Dan, you want to take a guess?
Successful.
Johansson's the other one that would do it a lot too, run at people.
Yeah, I'd go with Bernie probably.
It's the Beaver with 2.9 per game. He's on a successful dribble percentage of 68.8. Bernie is second at 55.6 with 2.1 per 90.
He does go at people a fair bit. I wouldn't have thought of him as doing it enough to, I guess successful is the key word. It's the high percentage of conversion that's the key. He probably does less dribbles than Bernie, but converts at a higher rate than Bernie, I would guess. It does show that he's playing a little bit deeper off Musa most of the time. These are going at people.
With the week off, I was just curious to kind of stop for a second and take both of your temperatures about where you are in terms of individual performances across the team. I mean, I think we're all obviously delighted about Petter Musa's performances, although we're also at the same time conflicted with the better he plays, the more likely he goes. Conundrum we're all facing. Buzz, you started the season making a lot of noise and making a lot of predictions about Beaver and his season.
Mm-hmm.
I think so far, you've been pretty spot on about that.
Yeah, I predicted he was going to break out and have a 10 goals, 10 assists this season. And that he would end up, because I think Musa will be sold, I think he'll end up being your MVP, in fact. So I think he's playing really, really well. I mean, our roster rankings is coming out again this week, and he's climbing up there because even in the game when Musa didn't start, Farrington was tremendous. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that prediction.
Dan, do you have anybody that you would like to highlight or comment or criticize a few games into the season?
No, not really. I think, the story of the season so far has been Musa and Farrington. Obviously, there was the disaster of Asazu Regida getting a knock for a game, but they managed to soldier through it. So it's not the disaster it could be.
Dan, do you have would you like, Could you, if I asked you to tell me who you think the best center midfielder has been this season, could you easily name one? Buzz is chomping at the bit. I could see Buzz chomping.
I mean, he wants to say Kappas, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to say, but Kappas came off at halftime the other day. A lot of people didn't think Kappas played very well in the previous game.
Oh no, I'm saying Buzz wanted to say Kappas.
No, that's
but normally when Buzz is chomping at the bit, that means Kappas.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that he's been the best team's best central midfielder. He's been carrying a knock for a couple games. So, like, yeah, I will say that last wasn't his best game, the last game, but we already talked about how he's leading the team in, key passes, and he's an 8, right? So there's a relative high amount of positivity, I think, in terms of trajectory that people are going through. Valiente is coming along nicely. Some nice looking things there. Nolan's looking pretty good when he came in, right? You like what's happening with Farrington. Ramiro, no change, no progression there, but he's 30,000 years old, so that's understandable, right?
He's not 30,000 years old. Can I tell you who I think is my surprise? It's Shaq Moore as a center back. I think Shaq has been really, really surprisingly good for a position we're all very worried about. And I've been really, he doesn't fit the physical requirements you typically look for in a center back in terms of height. But I do think his experience and smarts have been helping him out a lot this year. So I just wanted to give him some props for that.
Yeah, and he's basically playing, the full 90 every time. The thing about Shaq Moore at 5'11", and the thing about center backs in general is that what I think you'd like to see is a center back good enough that you can partner with your get in, you can go back to a back 4, right? It's like a lot of things are happening because they're stuck. Quill's stuck playing this back 3 because his other 2 options at center back, which are mostly Urguide and Moore, aren't as good as I'm sorry, not Urguide, excuse me. Ibiaga and Moore aren't as good as the Urguide. Nolan isn't really a center back. He's playing left center back in a back 3, and that's fine. But like in a straight up back 4, center back's not really his jam. He's more of a left back. So, Quill is stuck with this 3-man center back setup because he doesn't have another Urguide. But in that context, Moore's been fantastic. He's stopped making sort of these overreaching mistakes where he gets caught out of position. That's the biggest thing. Is last year he kept trying to be sort of wingbacky at times and will get caught up field occasionally. So he's not doing that, which is great. He's playing more stay at home, playing more conservative, which is really good. We like Nolan's progression over there too. That's looking really good. So those guys can compensate for Bernie being occasionally a defensive mess. We've seen Johansson occasionally be a defensive mess just once or twice, but sometimes it's a little bit worrisome. But both of those guys make up for it with their offensive contribution. So it is what it is at this point.
Where is the third degree-o-meter on Johansson so far?
Well, I think he's pretty good. I think that there's a lot of growth that can happen. He's still not fit. He can't really go 90 minutes. He, occasionally makes defensive mistakes, especially when a guy who's really fast lines him up and runs at him for a long way. He can't really turn and burn, like Bernie can, and catch a guy and keep going. He kind of has to be smarter about that. But he doesn't make a lot of big catastrophic positional mistakes usually. He did get caught last game in the 5-minute debacle of, not just letting that guy run past him because they were running a relatively high line at that point. So, I don't think he's an all-star, but I think he's a solid MLS player.
Okay. Collodi? Anybody want to comment on Collodi?
He's fine. He's good.
Okay.
Dan, you know anything to say about Collodi?
No, I mean, he had a couple of mistakes, but I think he's, for such a confidence position, he's rebounded well from any stumble.
Okay. I had somebody the other day try and tell me his feet were terrible. I was like, dude, his feet are why they got rid of Paz. He's some of the best feet in MLS as a goalie. I mean, he's not Valiente. It's a goalie, but still, his feet are really good.
And then I'm going to save my last one for the manager, Eric Quill. Anybody want to comment on Quill's performance this year?
He still occasionally gets a sub run, but the pre-planned tactics are working really well. He's tried a couple of different formations. They both have worked out. The switch to this high press in certain games has worked really well. He's making mostly good decisions in terms of who's playing, who's not playing. There is one thing that worries me a little. I feel
The hat?
like no, I don't care about that.
It's going to swallow him.
No, I feel like this might be the shortest bench I've ever seen a coach run here. Because past the starting group, whether it's Norris or Ibeagha, that's one or the other. That's fine. But is there a left wing back who can start? Is there a right wing back that can start? Is there another center back after Moore or Urguide other than Ibeagha, Norris? That's it, right? No Boubacar, no Alvaro, no wing back backups. You got Ramiro and Kappas, and you have Kayik that can play the holding spot. That's it. So like basically, after Valiente, you're kind of out of real heavy rotation people. Delgado a little bit. Delgado's come into like all 5 games, but it's been like 10 or 15 minutes a piece. And that's basically it.
So are you, but you're not talking about players that make up the roster. You're talking about guys that he's electing to use
the
on
rotation.
A regular, yeah. Okay. Right.
Like we're seeing Benjamin get trash minutes. He's got 23 minutes. That doesn't count. That's not the rotation.
Have you seen him play?
Anderson Julio's hurt, so he's not available. Dietzon's got in 4 games. Dietzon has 60 minutes, right?
He's
so that's
14 guys that have played over an hour's worth of football.
Right. So like what I'm saying is like,
wait, hold on. Say that again, Dan. You didn't say that very loudly.
Yeah, he's got 14 guys that have played more than an hour's worth of football through 5 games.
5 games. Yeah. So like his bench is.
I would love to compare that to the other MLS clubs.
Well, just think about just think back in terms of this club, in terms of like coaches in the past, like how many players, how often have we seen? Because if you're talking about that short of a bench, you're only talking about 3 players basically that play beyond the starting 11, any meaningful minutes. And one of those is Delgado at 120 minutes, right? And one of those is including Norris, who has only started 2 games with Ibeagha starting, more. So 4, it's just.
Does he have a big dollar salary player that's not playing much at all?
Well, Anderson Julio, but that's because he's hurt.
Right. Obviously, injured players don't count. But
Boubacar.
Well,
what is Boubacar?
I mean, Julio, even before he was injured, he's only played 27 minutes.
Yeah.
Boubacar's on 500 or 600.
Wow. That's a lot of hair care.
Ricky Lewis, Sam Sava, Anderson Julio, Dietzson are all among those players that have played less than an hour. They're all either going to play, right wing back or forward.
So officially, Boubacar last year was on with all comps 445, so that probably is up over 500 now. So I said, yeah. So he's got a bunch of young guys that you think maybe are interesting in the future, possibly. Sarver, Lewis, Benjamin's a U22 guy. Dietzson is in the rotation, maybe sort of almost, but that's really it. Swan.
It's
Alvaro.
Interesting because I feel like it wasn't that long ago we were all lamenting the fact that they had all these guys that were making close to $1 million that weren't playing because they were hurt or whatever. Paxton, Sebastian, Paul, Jesus, whatever it was an incredible list of a lot of money just sitting around doing nothing other than ride the bike.
And Sully's gone. He's out right, on loan. He probably won't be back on the roster. Giovanni Jesus was a U22 guy making a relatively 300, 400, whatever he was on. I don't know what he is officially, but he ain't on the roster, right? I mean, who knows whether that guy's ever going to play again? I don't think he will. They bought out Paxton.
So now we have 1 DP that we're about to lose and only 2 of our 4 U22s?
Yeah, Kayik, Benjamin, Delgado. Yeah, those 3.
Okay. For some reason, I thought Solly still counted as one of our U22s.
Well, no,
the
not
other
always
guy
on
does
loan.
too.
He would if he comes back.
Okay.
But
Crazy.
like they don't. I mean, obviously Santiago Moreno is going to go into that rotation, so that'll be 1 more. But this is about as short as a bench as I can think of in a long time.
Got it.
So I don't know that that's a criticism of Quill. It's something he's dealing with. It's more of a criticism of whoever built the roster. But Quill obviously. Something we've talked before about is the gap between being not in terms of the coach's decision-making and roster rotation and being in that group. That gap is hard to jump sometimes. Nolan is the one that's just now bridging it. You would have thought based on last year, Delgado was in the rotation, but he sort of seems to be falling out or maybe trying to get back in it. But that's the bottom of it. Dietzson is trying to get in it, but really probably isn't, Anderson Julio being healthy would help, of course. He would be in it, but
Right.
not a lot, but he's definitely in it, so it's just it's an interesting factoid or state of the team or whatever. So Quill's with a shorter bench, Quill's doing a nice job keeping everything going, keeping everything fresh.
Yeah,
See what happens.
I would say, the whole dogs thing, I think is corny and cringy, but the point, the message he's trying to get across, I do think he's successful at creating a group of guys that have that kind of no quit mentality about them and come at you kind of aggressive mentality. That is what he has been good at this year. That makes me like Eric Quill as the manager of this team, because that's the kind of manager this really kind of odd fractured roster needs, I think, to try to build that sort of cohesion and togetherness and some of the parts kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
Sometimes if you need to outwork and outfight everybody, that's what you need when all things are equal. You'd prefer that you just had a better roster and you could just outplay everybody, but that doesn't work when you're basically a mid-table team, or maybe even some might say a worse than mid-table team, that he's now coaching them up a couple of spots by keeping this fight alive and keeping this bonding alive and this stuff alive. So he's doing a really nice job. I think almost all that talk from him is for the locker room as much as anything. The fact that we're all in this together, we're all going to fight like hell together. That's what I want, is that fight, at certain kinds of supporters too. But at the end of the day, it's what you do when you have a little bit less than maybe the top teams in the league, and you're playing against teams that have the exact same as you. You have to outwork them, outfight them. And that's, his teams had that last year too, when they were getting all those points on the road. It was a good indicator of that. And they wanted to replicate that at home, and I think they're doing that this year.
Well, a big opportunity up in DC Saturday. I think the game's at 6:30 Dallas time, and will be available on the Apple TV. And Dallas needs all the points they can get before the World Cup. So come on, guys.
I was about to say the schedule says it's at 4:30, but then
is it at 4:30? Or is that not right?
Pacific time.
Oh, I was like, that's your time.
You were right. 6:30.
That's you left coast libs time is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Let's move to Little Burn, which they're off again. Did MLS Next take off the international break?
No, North Texas did because of Dallas Cup. I think that's why. They always seem to be off during Dallas Cup, and they always send players down during Dallas Cup.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I think that they do that on purpose. I don't think it's a coincidence. But we talked a little. What I want to talk about a little bit was what we talked about earlier when we talked about the Dallas Cup, which is this idea that there were 3 or 4 players that started that first game from North Texas SC, and there was a clear difference in the fitness of the guys that are full-time pros, versus the academy guys. The academy guys are all cramping up about 65, 70, and the North Texas guys were just blasted right through it. So it's like, there is a fundamental difference between those two things. And so that's why these games are huge against really talented teams. I mean, playing against Fulham, those are guys that are going to be in the Premier League. Not all of them, but a few of them probably will be at some point. So it's a really high level of talent, And so these games are a real challenge. There's a reason why Dallas steps aside for a minute and sends down some of those kids. They even sent down a couple of, at least one homegrown that I know of, to try and get some game time. So it's huge. And that really was the observation that those North Texas guys were so clearly different than the academy guys, who were supremely talented, but there's just a different level when you're a professional and you're training at a higher level, at a more intensity, and for a longer time. It really shows off.
All right, Dallas Trinity, they are down to 4th, it says here on Buzz's thing. They play Tampa Bay. Oh, we're recording this on Monday night, so they have a game against Tampa Bay tomorrow, Tuesday.
Yeah, Dennis did a nice preview on the website. And Peter, I have to tell you that for the first time in the history of forever, your guess about how to say someone's name was correct. Sydney Cheeseman.
In your face.
Yeah, and they call her Cheese and all that. I thought it was Chess, but it's Cheese. So Cheeseman. There's no E. It should have been Chess. But Laura Finn and Sydney Cheeseman, who's their other new center back, are both questionable. Cheeseman's got a concussion protocol. So you're back for maybe TBD on who's going to play for Trinity. Dennis McCown did a great preview on it's on the website right now for the game tomorrow. So the big macro thing is I really think it would be important to get both Flynn and Cheeseman back so that you can move Amber Wisner back into midfield, and that would really help them, push forward over the back half of the season if they can make that happen. Having Wisner in midfield alongside Stainbrook would be, I think, really good. If we want to spin back for a minute to the Lexi Missimo elephant in the room, Peter, of not greatness, I thought I went and looked up a couple stats because I didn't want people to think I was just making this up, that I thought that she wasn't, producing at a level requisite with her pay. And let's talk about Trinity at a macro level first. They have 24 goals on the year, which is tied for 6 out of 9 teams.
Okay.
Their shots, they have 226, which is 8th out of 9 teams. If we go back to the offense, which is, Missimo being a playmaker kind of thing, it's pretty telling that she's a part of should be the big engine of the offense. So in terms of goal scorers as players, Celie Strong and Allie Thornton both have 3. And then tied at 2 is a whole bunch of other players, including Missimo. So in terms of assists, Abubago and Bolt, who has been gone a while, Abubago has 4 and Bolt has 3. Abubago's in the top 10 in the whole league. And then Gidry, who's a right back, Bellata, who's a central mid, like a holding mid, and Henson is a left back, have 2 each. Missimo has 1. So shots, Thornton, Abubago, Lancaster, Wisner, Bolt, again, has been gone for like 2 months. All are in double figures on shots. Missimo, not to be seen. Chances created, Abubago 23, tied for 11th in the league. Henson, your left back. Lancaster, your right wing. Bellata, again, a 6th. Thornton, your other striker. All in double figures. Missimo, not to be seen. So a deeper dive into the fact that she's missing from all these stats, all these drivers, all these things that should make the team go. So again, I don't know 100% that it's her fault. It might be this injury recovery. It might be that the tactics just don't work for her, perhaps. It might be that for some reason, maybe her teammates hate her. I mean, who knows what it is, but there's definitely a complete disconnect in terms of her exceptional ability, because don't kid yourself, she's exceptional. She's in the U23 features team, which is where the national team develops her talent. You can watch clips of her play, and at moments she just destroys people, but it's not helping them win. It's not helping them score goals. And I don't know enough about their internal tactics, deep diving. I mean, I can sit in the stands and watch and tell you what I see, but I don't know how she's not impacting the game. Dan, did you want to get in on that?
No, I think, she's obviously played under all 3 coaches. All 3 coaches have tried to make her a central part of the team, and I just, for one reason or another, hasn't really happened. Obviously, they did heavily change the style around her presence with Pauline McDonald. When Lexi got injured and Cameron Lancaster came in, you saw an improvement. Even with Cameron kind of playing out a position in that role. It obviously, no one's saying that she's a bad player. Like you say,
for sure,
US national team recognition, and that's after coming back from the. For people that don't know, when she was in the under-20s, she took a mental health break from the national team selection pool. Which, if you've seen the headlines with Ben White with England, that is extremely difficult to come back from. So she's earned that place back in selection in the pool. Before signing for Trinity, Man City were poking around, a lot of larger teams in Europe at the very least. So there is obviously, a very good prospect, a very good player there.
Yeah.
It's just, in what is really a second tier league, why is it not coming together?
Well, ultimately, I think the issue for her, and this is hard because, she's young and this isn't her fault, is they're paying her an exorbitant amount of money.
It's a pressure that nobody needs.
Yeah, I've heard a number of what they're paying her, and it's an astonishing amount of money for USL SL. it'll be interesting to see how much longer this goes on, because the fate of the team, I mean, unless the Neal family just has decided that this is worth, the expense, but I can't imagine how they can if they're not getting any production out of her. And you got to add on top of that all the time they paid her, and she didn't play at all because she was hurt. So it feels weird kind of poking at somebody that's young and all of this stuff. And and I know people who know her personally and things like that. And it's very sensitive and very odd, but if we're going to be fair and do this the right way, we have to have this conversation, because if it was anybody else on the men's team or any of the other club teams, we'd all be having this conversation that the highest paid player by a factor is just not producing.
And I don't think we're taking shots at her per se. We're questioning that, like, we're just pointing out that the salary and the lack of production and the level of talent are not aligning. Like, this is a talented player. It's unquestionable. She's talented. So, like, we're just asking questions about what is going on. Why is it not working? Because it clearly isn't working. Dan.
No, absolutely. I think, if you can almost different situation, obviously, but you can draw comparisons to Paxton Pomacole. We had those same conversations about the value that comes back from a situation, and there's no great secret. We will absolutely love Paxton to death. Very sad day when the buyout happened, but to objectively cover these soccer teams, are they getting the value? What's best for the team?
Yeah. Okay. Trinity plays, as I said, Tampa Bay tomorrow. You can check that out. It'll be on Peacock, and I'm assuming it'll also be either on KFAA or WFAA Plus, one of the two. So you can check it out there.
Yeah, great deal, that one. I love that.
Yeah, that is a good deal. Atletico Dallas, by the way, they haven't anything going on, but we were talking about Dallas Cup earlier. This is the first year that I can think of that Atletico Dallas has teams playing in the Dallas Cup. I don't know what age groups or anything like that or how they're faring or whatever, but good to know that they're also participating in the crown jewel of Dallas soccer.
Well, the club they merged with, Renegades, is a pretty solid club, so they have teams all over the level. It's not FC Dallas Academy good, but that's not what they were shooting for. This is the equivalent of their youth, of FC Dallas youth, in that sense. Atletico did announce the other day they're going to make an academy. But one of the things I think is kind of fun, it's been reported to me, is that the Atletico kids that are now wearing all the Atletico gear, they have the Renegades patch, the name of their former club, on their sleeve. So, like, the badge of that club on their sleeve. So they're showing a little respect to the history of the club they all were in. They've got their name changed. So I actually think that's cool that they're not just scorched earth, just burning everything to the ground. They're actually showing some respect for what came before.
Yeah.
And obviously Renegades was a decent sized club. It wasn't Solar, it wasn't FC Dallas Academy, but it was, they've obviously got enough to put out 10s, 11s, 14s, 15s, 16s, 17s, 18s, 19s in boys and girls.
Whoa.
Yeah,
okay.
So plenty.
I didn't know they had gotten up to 18s and 19s yet, but good for them.
Yeah, they've got I guess ECNL RL teams that they're putting out.
They made a really deep run, I think, at like 13s or 14s a couple of years ago, and FC Dallas
as Renegades.
Every Dallas coach poached a couple of their players, unsurprisingly. So that kid's really good. We'll take him.
And that's how you make friends and influence people.
It is.
All right. Last but not least, Clown. Since we last talked, the brand has been revealed. Then all of the stuff.
No clowns in their logo.
Pegasus, Clown, Burn. They got nicknames, Snake and Wolf. It's just my bit. I don't have a better one to come up with. Clown's my favorite one. So so that's what I'm sticking with.
Yeah.
Until somebody tells me everybody hates it. That never stopped me with Hunts. That didn't stop me with Huntsman. So there you go. All right. So Dan went to said party in the reveal. Dan, you are up for your book report, sir.
Yeah, it was surprisingly cold. They had a really cool venue, actually, the Silos at Salina. Really, how do I even put it? very, very, very Western in appearance.
Western.
A lot of hats, a lot of boots. A lot
Yeah.
They're called Rodeo, Dan.
Yeah, they are. No, it was. I mean, they got Salina, right. It's not. How do I even say it? It's not like out there country. It's very metropolitan Western. They are definitely that aesthetic in terms of the branding, in terms of the presentation, everything that we saw. Lots of schmoozing, lots of community buy-in. This is going to sound way worse than it is, but they are playing every cheap trick to the point where there's an orange splodge in the logo, Bobcat orange, Salina High School. They are going for every small. How can we get this community to feel that we belong and that they belong in us? And it's very interesting to see the contrast from the approach that they took with Texoma. I think the Texoma brand was fantastic. It was made by, the brand itself was developed by, I can't remember the fella's name, Christopher something. He's a pretty prominent English designer for soccer brands. Instead, they went with a local chap. I think he's based out of Frisco. They said Salina, but
he's from Salina originally. He doesn't live there now.
Okay. Yeah, they were definitely hitting on a lot of the this is from Salina, that's from Salina. The same people that said the same things about Texoma, a little over a year ago. But yeah, you've kind of got to hit on that and say, hey, with these people, we're part of your community. So it was, it's interesting to see the contrast in how they're approaching. It's very non-traditional soccer. It's very, that Western theme, as opposed to Texoma, which was very much, it's a soccer club and it just happens to be here with elements of the local area.
I'll start with Dan. What is your take and reaction to the logo and the branding and everything?
I actually really like the logo. Funny enough, it's
a belt buckle, right? Is the shield kind of
a
classic cowboy belt buckle shape?
I think it treads obviously something I've said before is the premise of a football badge is something that a kid can draw or someone can have tattooed. It's that's your level of simplicity. It doesn't have to be like a one-to-one example. But, what makes FC Dallas work is anyone can draw that ball. What makes Man United work, anyone can draw the Red Devil. I think they're kind of treading the line. There is a lot of detail in there, but as a shape, you could totally do that. You could picture it very easily.
We should probably describe the logo.
We should. Let me actually pull it up then.
Well, it's the shape of a belt buckle, but it's vertical instead of sideways. It's got the Western rope that Peter's predicting. The trim around it.
It wasn't the font. Now they did use the rope for a font for a third logo for a word mark only.
Yeah,
that looks really cool.
Okay,
yeah, that's really good. Got a guy riding a bull in the middle, just like a rodeo with the RSC brand on it.
A bucking bull, by the way.
A bucking bull, yeah. With the font they've been using at Rodeo Soccer Club, it does have the rope around the outside. It says Salina on there. Like after we talked about how Atletico Dallas didn't say Atletico Dallas on the logo. Well, they got Salina right there on the logo for you. The Texas Star above, like even the shading. Like I'm really glad they kept the tans and the browns. That's great. But then the shading inside the thing is flavor of it's like a Texas flag turned vertically. So that there's it's not blue, it's brown, but it's like the blue with the stars at the top and the two halves are there. The one weird thing, as Dan mentioned, is the splotch of orange on the badge to just bring in orange. I think it's an orange ball because there's lots of clips of bulls playing with these big orange balls.
It is. It's just funny because it's a very detailed, one element is very detailed. The bull, the rider with the tiny brand, and you can see the individual hairs and the tail and all this. And then rather than like a ball with any kind of show.
It's just like the sun.
You can't see panels. You can't see anything. It's just a orange circle.
You know, I gotta say though, Dan, I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, why didn't they detail it out like a stereotypical orange polka dot soccer ball? But then I thought about it for a second, and there's a part of me that kind of, the more I look at it, the more I think it's an interesting idea that they just do this orange circle, because it could be anything. It could be the ball that the Bulls play with in the rodeo. It could be a soccer ball. It could be the sun. You know, sunsets in Salina is probably a big deal. But the fact that it's the high school or the school district's traditional orange, and for those who don't know, who are listening from out of town, Salina is 100% a high school football community. They have won 9 state championships. They are one of the most dominant high school football programs in the state. Their girls soccer team has won state many times. They are a athletic community that has grown tremendously with the growth of Dallas-Fort Worth up north in the last 20 years. So I was with you when you initially said it, but the more that I see the logo, and it is so different from the rest of it, I think it's kind of a cool element to put something so simple in the logo like that.
I just need, when the jerseys come out with the tans and browns, it needs to be the Caribous of Colorado all over again.
With the
tassels, everything.
You want the fringe and everything, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is my favorite part, is that they stuck with browns. Like I've wanted a team to do brown for so long, and the fact that it's a local team that's doing it, I'm curious to know if they go like a light brown for away, dark brown for home, or vice versa, or if brown's the primary and then there's something completely different for the secondary.
So this kind of gets into the thing that McKinney Chupacabras have. Your colors that you've picked are not colors that a main manufacturer run. So with McKinney, they're having to run a kit this year that's like a different green. It's not like their kind of blue teal. The only way around that is you get with someone like a Hummel, who can do like a sublimated print, and maybe you have, unlimited color options. That comes with a cost though. Now they did partner with Hummel. They did have a fully sublimated jersey for Texoma with the whole Texoma map, which was, a great feature to have. But I think when you look at the future, maybe something changes and they end up being like a catalog customer of Adidas. Well, Adidas didn't do the burn green by the time FC Dallas did the burn baby burn jersey, so they had that like awkward gold color that they had to deal with. You might have those sort of things to contend with the brand.
Yeah.
For those that haven't seen it, the brown and the orange is Cleveland Browns colors. With thrown in.
That's a great point. It is Cleveland Brown colors.
Yeah. So it's a palette that we know works.
But the orange is just the ball. There's no other orange in there. And to me, if they wanted to do something cool, their third kit could be orange because of Salina. Yeah. Like that would be a really smart thing for them to do.
They had a good number of balloons in that orange that made it seem like it's more than just...
Probably not a lot of brown balloon manufacturers.
Oh, no, they had like custom printed balloons. Like it was pretty cool.
If your main palette is like tan and sand and brown, like the orange, again, the sunset, Peter, can be used as all kinds of accents and pops and flares, and you can do tons of fun stuff.
Yeah,
and it would change up your stuff all the time by using orange in strategic ways. It's a really good, well done design.
Yeah, here's the other comment. So they also released a hype video, and the hype video is really well done. I thought it was weirdly almost identical to the original Atletico Dallas hype video, where it's it looks, I guess they, instead of it being a gravel pit, this time it's a rodeo, what is
corral.
that? Corral. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so it's a kid playing soccer in the dirt by himself, and then cowboys and bulls and all that stuff. It's very serious. And my concern is when you call yourself rodeo, I just haven't, my expectation of how you are self-effacing and how you treat your brand is a little bit, not snarkier. What's the right word? Just a little bit more self-humored, if that makes any sense. And the video came across to me as way too serious for something that calls itself rodeo.
Self-deprecating? Was that what you were
Yeah,
talking
self-deprecating, in on the joke, kind of getting it kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It just came across as like very, very serious.
I assume they use the same people because it was so similar to the Atletico one.
Yeah. What'd you think about that part, Dan?
Honestly, I was talking to a few people during that video. So yeah, I think it's kind of hard because
he's looking for a beer. Yeah.
No, I had one. No, actually, I bumped into our good friend Andrew that used to manage Soccer 90 and was kind of having a chat at the time.
Yeah.
No, I think I always find those sort of brand videos tough, and I say that as somebody who's made those. They're there to tell a story, but they never really do. I at that point, you just kind of want to see the logo itself. You want to see people's reaction, see it in different formats that can show you things like when we went to the Atletico Dallas one, and you got to see the logo in print. You got to see it on a screen. You got to see it printed on flags and stuff, and it was kind of like you got to see the movement of it all. Watching a video of some guys in protective gear in rodeo covered in crosses didn't really do a whole lot for me.
Yeah, but but I don't know if you're the audience, man.
I'm not.
They're looking for Salina residents, and that is, I don't know how much rodeo. Well, anyway,
I think the one thing different between the Atletico Dallas one and the Salina one was the Salina one. They knew exactly who they were targeting. There was no doubt about that. There was, whatever number of residents in Salina, that's their audience.
Yeah.
That's what they're shooting for. And that's why I said they kind of went through they kind of resort to the cheap tricks, the good stuff, the stuff that you really want to build an audience by telling them, hey, look, we're a core part of your community. You need to be a part of ours.
Okay. I like it overall. When I first heard rodeo, I rolled my eyes and I thought, this is silly. And the time has gone by. I've bought into it. I think it's great, especially now that I know it's brown. But the graphic design lesson that I'm taking from this is interesting because I criticized the Atletico Dallas branding originally because they didn't have all of the elements when you're trying to establish a brand identity, which is the name of what you are and where you're related to. And Atletico Dallas did none of that. But here we are a year or so after that launch, and I have to admit, Wolf and Snake, I think, looks great. I know what it is. I know who it is. I don't know what percentage of people in Dallas know what it means, but after this amount of time, the fact that it doesn't say the word Dallas or Atletico Dallas or anything like that doesn't bother me as much. This has the city it's going to be based in. It's got the name of the club. It's got the visual identity of the bucking bull and all of that. I'll be interested to know where I'm at on it a year from now because it's more of that stereotypical kind of brand identity setting design. You know what I mean, Dan?
Yeah, I think Atletico is kind of like Dallas Trinity has the same thing. It's a really cool fashion brand. Then you have to find the context to let you know it's a soccer club. This is a community soccer club.
Yeah.
Some of the merch they put out, they had an insane amount of merch, by the way, which actually Buzz has just put some of it in a group text. But they had, and again, cheap tricks. They had a whole stand that was branding hats, and they knew their audience, right? It was branding with the team's logos. It was branding with crosses, hearts, the state of Texas initials. If you go into a Western store, the stuff that you're going to see the staff kind of just rocking on their hats because it's like the basic examples of customization. They knew what their audience was and they kind of rolled out all the things for that.
Okay. Well, congratulations to them. Good luck. When does they kick off next season, Buzz?
Yes.
So
Yep.
they're kicking off in USL 1 the same year Atletico's kicking off in USL Championship.
Yeah, Texoma, dropped down, and they're continuing right away in USL 2. Rodeo wanted a year to sort of get all their ducks in a row. So they're kicking off next season in the USL 1.
Okay.
Yep. By the way, just to remind everybody, that's the same level as North Texas SC. It's the third division in the United States. So that will be one when Atletico Dallas starts. That'll be one level below them, and then it'll be two levels on paper when Atletico moves up to USL Premier, which is new, not quite formed up yet. But
somebody asked me this question the other day about the likelihood of the Burn getting players that we feel like, or they feel like, are too good for MLS Next Pro, but not getting a lot of time with the senior team.
Yeah.
Loaned out to Atletico.
That's certainly possible.
Do you? Well, I'm curious. What do you think about the relationship? Do you think that's?
Oh yeah. Well, Brian Corcoran, who runs Atletico's soccer program, and Peter Luxon are both on good relationship terms with FC Dallas's technical people. Peter was their interim coach, and while he didn't get the head job, it's not like they fired him. Peter's kids, his sons, both play for FC Dallas still.
Yeah.
There's no. As far as I know, I've not heard of any bad blood, and the people I've talked to on both ends have told me that everything's fine. So
that would be a really interesting new addition to the region. Is if I'm trying to think. I'm just going to pick out a name. If Nolan Norris wouldn't be the right one, Diego Garcia suddenly started playing in championship because he's too good for. I don't know if that's the right one, Buzz. You could probably pick a better one out than me, but that would be interesting to me.
Well, remember, because Brian and Peter both know this market.
Yeah.
They know
100%.
players.
Yeah.
Their sons went through the academy. They're going to know some talent there. They're going to want to cherry pick that, is not destined for FC Dallas. And it's certainly initially when Atletico comes in as a USL championship, clearly that's a possibility. Maybe even for FC Dallas first team players, like you mentioned, Diego Garcia is a great example. Rather than going down like Alvaro Augusto, perhaps, goes down to North Texas and looks like crap because he doesn't want to be there. There's lots of possibilities. Now, with Atletico, not to speak for them in any capacity at all, but let's say they go up to a USL Premier level, and now they're trying to be Division One. Maybe then you would hope that level would be higher than the championship. Probably out of the gate. I doubt it's going to be the same as Major League Soccer. Could there still be some possibility? Man, who knows how that's going to play out? Then maybe it goes up even more. So but this market could really use, and FC Dallas for sure could really use a step between MLS Next Pro and the first team. If Atletico could provide some of that in year one or year two, if they're still in the championship, or even in year three, if Premier comes around, whenever it's going to come around, we don't know. As a possibility, the way USL Super League teams take NWSL players on loan, because clearly right now, even though they're both Division One, they are not equivalent in terms of talent and money. USL Premier is not going to be the same amount of talent and money as MLS right out of the gate.
No.
So
it won't be probably for a long time.
And maybe even those teams that are relatively new might not be even as good as USL Championship teams the first year as they're trying to put their clubs together. When the best players are all going to be under contract. Those teams are going to form from scratch. I mean, Atletico is going to have a year ahead. They're going to have guys they're going to have signed that they're going to carry over. But like the teams that are going to be new could be bad. We'll see how that all comes together.
Okay.
It'll be fun to watch. I mean, hopefully they maintain. The only way I feel like it can go south is if Atletico as an organization starts taking shots at FC Dallas. I don't think that they'll do that because we've talked before, and this is just me saying this. The Hunts have billions. The guys that own Atletico, they're awesome dudes. They do not have billions. Like they cannot go head to head with the Hunts in a money shootout in terms of like if they piss them off, you know what I mean? So it would be better for everybody if they keep an amicable relationship, particularly because they're in different leagues. Atletico is going to have their hypothetical guns rivalries blazing at Fort Worth, not FC Dallas. You know what I mean? So I think there's an opportunity for it to go both ways. And that's probably true of Fort Worth too. They could also look to FC Dallas possibly for talent. There's no reason why it couldn't be both.
Okay. Good stuff. Think we captured it well today.
By the way, looking at this Rodeo merch site, their price point is much, much better than some of the other teams around here. they are speaking to me, my man. I'm about to go buy some merch.
Okay.
You mean you don't want a $200 Dallas Trinity jacket?
Yeah, a hoodie does not need to be $120. These are much more in line with my pocketbook.
Excellent. All right. Well, Dan, welcome back. Thanks for returning, sir. It's good to speak with you.
Likewise. Always fun to talk some design stuff too.
Yeah, good times. And Buzz?
Yeah, brother.
Good talking to you.
Thanks, man.
How was Dirt Track?
Wow. Goodness.
What?
It is a different world than the one I live in and am used to, but it was enjoyable. You know,
I don't understand their world, but I know they're part of mine, said a fan Dale Hansen once.
It's a different, everyone was super friendly. Like I went around, like I had a little downtime over here and there, and I talked to some people. Like I was out eating my hot dog or whatever on my lunch break, and there were people around and chatting with them. They were all really nice, really friendly, and they all loved us because there's sports going on. The thing we're doing is on FS1. So they're all crazy hyped about that. You know, I met that guy that owned the track. He couldn't have been nicer and more happy that we were there. So
when does it air?
Tuesday. The series I'm doing is mostly Tuesday nights. It's like a midweek series on FS1. This circuit has, I don't know, 50 races over the course of the year, and 6 of them are on FS1. It's mostly like one a month on Tuesday, or there's 1 or 2 of them on Wednesday maybe. So you'll be able to find it if anyone cares. It's called High Limit Racing. You can watch them at work. So,
did you get the itch?
What's the itch?
Rubbing is racing. Did you get the? Did you get the racing itch?
I did when I worked NASCAR for 7 years, but this kind of racing, rubbing, is not really racing because these cars are dirt track cars. They look more like open wheel. So like if they bang into each other, cars go flying. And one car did like 7 or 8 flips head over heels. It was crazy. So,
all right.
They don't usually bang into each other. This is not a rubbing or racing. This is dirt and mud flying.
So rubbing leads to banging.
Yep.
That's just a rule of life.
Third Degree, the podcast, is brought to you by our wonderful supporters, just like you, those that choose to help us out at patreon.com/third degree. If you're curious about FC Dallas, Dallas Trinity, Atletico Dallas, Rodeo SC, all the teams that are coming to Dallas playing professional soccer, we got you covered. Why not throw us some support? It is greatly appreciated. Hope you enjoyed the show. Yeah, these cars have a lot of horsepower, and they're not very heavy. They fly around the short track and dirt goes everywhere.
Well, I'm glad you made it home safely.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And thank you, DFW Soccer Curious. Go get yourself a Curious shirt over on Buzz's store. And we will talk to you next week on another episode of Third Degree, the podcast.
Peter's still going to the radio.
Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.